Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. About to start. Alhamdulillah. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina wa habibina wa syafi'ina wa nuri qulubina wa qurrati a'yunina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. نوانا تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني وشفاء صافي الهني وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأه في هذا المجلس وما قبله وما بعده فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسأل فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني وهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخيرات الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين 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 يا رب العالمين. الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. I will continue with our classes of Fiqh Sirah, right? And I'm going, on a bit of a diversion, right? And going into the lives of, this is a very very brief where you see commentary, right, on the Ajdat, right, on the ancestors of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, so inshallah, this is going on this side a little bit, right? So that we can also, with the intention, right, that when we learn about the ancestors that preceded the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, we increase in our iman in his prophethood, right? Because we see, a divine, you will see inayah, or riayah, right? You see a divine care, right, over the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Divine, you will see, in a metaphorical meaning, divine hand, a divine hand in the guidance, right, of the individuals in the lineage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, and you will see that it is not something that is normal, right, but rather something that is extraordinary. And as you mentioned this, in the Muqaddimah of Shirah Manbuti's book, right, whereby he emphasized over and over again, right, it is not for us, to be satisfied as Muslims with people saying that the Prophet ﷺ is merely amazing, right, but rather, we're not looking for amazing, we're looking for extraordinary. right? Because in fact, what he said was he was looking for prophetic, right? So that is a description that we would use for our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because many human beings are amazing, right? There are many amazing human beings, right? So and amazing does not make a person a prophet, right? Mashallah, he has to be prophetic, right? Then you see that there is a level of a prophet, mashallah. So even to the point of his akhlaq, of his character, whereby there was a Jewish, a learned Jewish man in Medina, right? It's a famous story, right, of where he said that he had seen all the signs in the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, that was mentioned in the Torah, right, except for one sign, right, which was that the more a person is acts foolishly towards him, right, the more he acts, with very high, gentleness and composure towards that person. Like the hilm, it basically is a characteristic of hilm that is not just, you say a good character, right, but it is amazing and above and beyond, what normal good human beings would do. Right? So above and beyond what normal good human beings would do. So mashallah. Right? So when we study his ancestors, and we're going from that angle, of basically prophetic proofs. These are prophetic proofs. And if you say, why would a Muslim have to do that? I already believe, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. And I believe fully in my heart, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. I have no doubt, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. I will say again and again, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You say, I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt in this statement. And alhamdulillah, may all of us have no doubt in this statement. Right? But we also know in our religion that Iman increases and decreases. Right? Iman increases and decreases, and you know of the increase and decrease in your Iman, right, by looking at your deeds, your amalan, right, your deeds. Right? So how, of course, many Muslims, right, will say, I know very well Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I know very well he is a prophet. I have no doubt. Right? Then you ask them, where are you with your sunnahs? Right? Where are you with the salawat? Right? Where are you with your, like if you truly, had the highest iman on them, you would be doing, so much more. Right? So you can see, really, so even, with our statement, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, right? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah has the same, what you say, has the same effect, right? That it is the stronger your iman, the stronger, your belief system, or the strength of belief, your aqidah, your i'tiqad, right? What in English? Stronger your hold, right? Your hold, or your commitment, or I couldn't think of the English word for it, right? But basically, the stronger, right? Your that you being convinced, right, by that, by Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, right, the stronger it is, right, the more, right, you should find yourself, coming earlier for the prayer, right? The more you should find yourself, staying away from all forms of sin. And the more, and this is the effect of Iman, mashallah, which is why going through the biography of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is something that is compulsory on a believer, right? Because it increases your holding on to, your conviction, is the word, your conviction, like in the word Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, mashallah. And that will translate to action, right? It will translate to action. Someone can't say, I truly have the highest iman, in the Prophet sallallahu was indeed a prophet, right? And then they are careless, or they are negligent about the sunnahs of Rasulullah. Like, oh, do you really believe? Right? Do you really have a conviction? Right? Then why are you so lazy about the sunnah? And what's going on? It does show, the proof is in the, like I say, the proof is in the pudding, and the proof is like it's right there. It's not showing in your deeds, then you are kind of like a liar. Right? Subhanallah. Right? So anyway, this is why we're learning his ancestry, right? Because it is all part of the prophetic truth, right? And also to see, right, that really righteousness, right, is in the blood. Right? Righteousness is really, a lot of it is in the blood, right? And of course, not to see that someone from an unrighteous, household or unrighteous, origin cannot be righteous. Not, right? Because you see, of course, the son of Abu Jahl, is a Muslim, right? The son of Abu Lahab is a Muslim. In fact, of the most horrid of enemies of the Prophet ﷺ, a lot of their children were Muslims, Sahaba, right? So of course, they were from really unrighteous origins, right? And then they chose righteousness for themselves, and that is possible, right? But of course, do not deny that the righteousness of an ancestor has an effect on the descendants, and that's for normal human beings, right? Us being choosing righteousness in our lifetime, inshallah, will have an effect on our children, our grandchildren, inshallah. And of course, we mentioned that for Rasulullah, it was opposite, was the other way, right? The greatness of the descendant, the greatness of the ancestors. His ancestors inherited his traits, right? And not the other way around, like other human beings. He pointed it out. He pointed it out previously. Alhamdulillah. I think we are on Kinana. Are we there? Does anyone remember where we are? Are we on Kinana or another? Are we on another? Oh, wait, let me see. I didn't put a mark. Khuzaima, did you Khuzaima Mudrika? Oh yeah, Mudrika. Anyone here remembers? I think we were there. I know we finished Elias. Because I spoke about the prophet Elias, right? So I think we were in Mudrika. Tamam, okay, Mudrika. So we finished Mudrika, his name was Ar. Yes, I remember doing this. Tamam. So we are at Khuzaima. Okay. So Mudrika, right? So he was called Mudrika. It was said that because the word adraka in Arabic, adraka yudriku, idrak, right? So adraka in Arabic, it means to attain, right? To attain something or to reach something, right? So either adraktum salah, like if you caught the prayer, there's a way in the fiqh and in the hadith, right? So ma adraktum fasallu, and ma fatakum fatimmu. There's the hadith, which means if you see the prayer has begun, and then what you got, you continue praying with the imam, and then what you missed out, you complete it after the imam has finished, right? So and it's a qaida, that is a principle in fiqh, right? So on the masbuq, adding to the prayer, right? So basically the word adraka is there, right? So what you got, right? So he said that he's called mudrika لأنه أدرك كل فخر وعز في آبائه, right? Because he attained, right? Or he had met, right, with every great treat, and every honor, right, in the that was found in the ancestors of the Prophet, and it was all contained inside of him, right? And it was also said that the Nur of Al Mustafa, the light of Rasulullah, right, was manifest, right, and clear in his forehead, and wherever he walked. And so again, this is all things that you say extraordinary, right? Like, so yes, they are amazing human beings, yes, higher than that, right? Higher than amazing, right? They are extraordinary, and there is a prophetic light shining in their foreheads, right? So okay, so there was Mudrika. Okay, so then we're going into Khuzaima, right? So Khuzaima, it is so the word Khuzaima, right, is the tasghir of the word Khazama. Tasghir meaning that in Arabic you could take a word right? And you could make it, tasghir, right? Basically, you could make it small, so it's a way in Arabic. It's a way in Arabic, right? So, like if you say, if you say hirra, right? So hirra means a cat. So you say hurayra. Right? Hurayra means a kitten, right? And then, or you say that kitab. Right? Kitab is a book. If I say kutayyib, I make it small. There's a way of how you can do it. I say kutayyib. Innahu kutayyib. Right? It's just a booklet, right? So I mean booklet, like kutayyib, in that way, right? So you say bani, bani, which is basically son, like my son. Oh yeah, bani, yeah. Oh my son. I could say bunaya, bunaya. Oh my little boy, you know. It's like that, like that. So Abd, Ubaid, right? The little slave, that kind of thing. Right? So Khazama, you have Khuzaima, right? Khuzaima. A lot of names actually are on this form, like Sumayya. Right? Sumayya is a tasghir, right? It is a that it becomes a smaller, Samiyya becomes Sumayya. In that way, there are several names that have that, have that form, like Huzaifa and so on. Right. So Khazama, right, is a main name, and Khuzaima is a tasghir, right, means it's small, right? So and right, so he's called, Khuzaima, right, because of his because of the meaning of the Khuzaima, which is basically to rectify, right, because he was well known as someone who would be a rectifier, of affairs of people in society, and this is one of the traits of a sayyid, like of someone who is a natural leader, has this trait, of rectification. And they go around and they rectify society, right? Mashallah, this is real Khuzaima. So and sometimes, is it he himself, or sometimes it is the person himself that chooses to have a tasghir, and they choose to have a, like a diminutive form of the name, out of their humility, inshallah. Now, right. So, and it was said that, I also they also that he was called Khuzaima, right? Because he is the Khuzima, which means, what the meaning of Khuzima, it means that the light of his fathers was gathered inside of him, together the lights of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with the Muhammadan light. Right, so all different ways of saying the lights in their faces. You find that a lot of the names actually means, the one with the shining face, the one with the bright face, the one with the light in the face, the one with the, so a lot of them have names of that meaning. Right? Which tells you the movement of the light's moving, right, from Nabi Adam all the way down. So in fact, I mentioned that what I'm referring to is actually all the way up to Nabi Adam, alayhi salam, from the light being the first thing Allah created. In the hadith, they say Ibn Mas'ud at Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, was the first thing Allah created. And he said, don't you know, the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created is the light of your prophets, right? That was the first thing before everything else, right? And then thereafter Allah created everything else, subhanallah. Right, so mashallah, the other day I was teaching the children, and then and I was going through, like from the, I don't know what I was going through with them, but basically I was thinking about the angels, and I was saying that the first of Allah's creation that Allah created, and what I meant was, as a group, like when you compare angels, human beings, jinn, animals, plants, so on. Right? So I meant was a group, right? So the first thing that Allah created were the angels. Right? The angels, the first ones, right, they were created, right? And then after Allah created the jinn, right? And then after that, Allah created the human beings, right? And then my niece, she was like, but I thought the first thing Allah created is Nabi Muhammad. So I was like, what? Like, not the angels, but true actually. Right? The first thing Allah created was his light, right? Then he created the angels. That's true. No, mashallah. Mashallah. So corrected. I dream my own class. It is true. And the first thing was Allah's, was Nabi Muhammad's light, the first thing. right? So the name Khuzaima also has a meaning of the one whereby the light was encompassed in his face, right? And he was on the path, he was on the religion of Nabi Ibrahim, alayhi salam, as with all of them, right? So mashallah, as with all of them, right? And it is also that and it is also that they were believers in the prophets of their time. Right? So there were prophets in their zaman and their time. Right? They were believers in those prophets, as you mentioned, about the previous ancestors of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so we are on Kinana now, right? So Khuzaima, then we have Kinana. Right, so Kinana bin Khuzaima bin Mudrika bin Ilyas bin Mudar bin Nizar. Okay, so so Kinana, right? Kinana by the language, right? It means so in English, is it called mast? You know the place they put the arrows, like bow and arrow. Now people use the bow and arrow, right? They put the arrows in a mast. Is it called a mast? Okay, basically that thing, right? The container for the arrow, right? So I think it's called a mast. So M-A-S-T. I think it's called a mast. Basically, Kinana has that meaning. Right? Kinana is that thing that they sling over their shoulder, right? And they keep their arrows there, right? And then so that you will find them, like someone doing like bow and arrow, right? There's archery, someone doing archery, they would reach back and they would take an arrow from this kinana, right? From this thing that they carry, right? And then they would shoot and shoot. Right? The story of Sayyidina Muhammad, Sayyidina Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas, right? So Sayyidina Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas is a story, right, whereby during the Battle of Uhud, right, Battle of Uhud, he had come running to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm out of arrows, I'm out of arrows. Right? He had shot all of his arrows, and he is the first companion to shoot an arrow in the way of Islam, mashallah. So the story goes that he ran to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? He said, I'm out of arrows, I'm out of arrows. Right? And then Rasulullah handed him an arrow, right? And then and then so he placed it in his mask first, right? And then to get his bow out, the bow and arrow, right? To get the bow out. So when he held the bow up, right? Then he reached back for the arrow, and he took the arrow, right? And then he shot it. Then he said, Ya Rasulullah, I need another one. And Rasulullah said, keep reaching back, right? And then he reached and he found another arrow, right? And he shot it. And then he reached again and he found another arrow and he shot it. And he reached again, he found another arrow and he shot it. The mouth is actually empty, right? There was nothing in there, right? But every time he reached back, it is the obedience to the Prophet. Don't ask questions. Don't say, but I don't have any. No, don't say that. Just do as he says. He says, reach back. So he reached back and he kept reaching back. And every single time he reached back into his mask, right? He found another arrow. MashaAllah. Right? It says, it's one of the the mu'jiz of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the thing where they say, don't question the Prophet. Don't question him. When he was served, I think Sayyidina Aisha. Yeah, Sayyidina Aisha was the one who served him, some food, right? And it was one slaughtered goat, right? So he has slaughtered a goat, and they were cooking the goat, right, in a soup, right? And then she began serving him. So Rasulullah, he loved the shoulder part of the goat. Right? It was known he loved the shoulder part, right? And then so he said, give me the shoulder part. She took out the part of the shoulder and she placed it in front of him and he ate it. Right? And then he said, give me the other one, the shoulder part. Like, give me a shoulder part. And then she took out the other part of the shoulder, right, of the goat, and she gave him. Then he said, give me another shoulder part, another one. Right? And then she said, Ya Rasulullah, a goat only has 2 shoulders. Oh, she asked. You cannot ask, you cannot question. Of course, he knows what he's doing. And she was like, Ya Rasulullah, a goat has only 2 shoulders. And he said to her, had you just looked, you would have found a third. Right? You would have found a third. Right? But you had to ask. So, khalas. So this is the adab. If they say something, the Prophet says something, just do. You will find it. And you don't like, but there's only two. No, don't go by logic. I just go by, this is the Prophet right? You can't go by logic. And mashallah. Mashallah. So Kinana has a meaning of that. It has a meaning of the place, the container whereby you put the arrows, right? And so he was called that, right? Because he was somebody who used to be the one who he would be the one who would keep like the secrets of these people. He would be the secret, like a secret keeper, like, amongst his people, right? And in fact, what they mean by secret keeper, right, is that they would like go to him with regards to their problems, right? And he would help them with their problems, right? And not tell anyone, who has come to him with regards to their problems. And this is a trait of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mashallah. Like the people would come like to him, right? And they would, entrust their things with him. They would tell him their problems, they would whatever. And he would, strive to help them. He was striving their way, and he would strive to help them. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So so he would protect over their secrets, and they would cover over their secrets, right? And they would help them without informing other people. It is a sign of righteousness, and when someone does that. So when people approach you for help, and you help them, right? Don't go around telling everybody, right? Because there is a form of ifdah, right? Whereby you expose the person, right? So just help him in khalas, don't mention it to anyone. Right? So it was said that he it was mentioned that he was a very handsome man. And he was a very handsome man, even in his old age, right? He was very, very handsome. As a person, commanding, like he had an aura about him, right? All of them did, mashallah. But they have an aura about them. Whenever they come into anyone's presence, people are taken in by them. Right? He had a great, great matter about him, right? And so the Arabs, right, used to seek him out. Right? The Arabs, they used to go to him, right, to take from him his knowledge. It was said that he was given very deep wisdom. Which is why he was a secret keeper, right? Because people would tell him his problems, right, and he would give solution. Right? So people used to seek him out, right, for his knowledge and for his virtue, right, in helping people, right, and also of his immense generosity that he had, right. And he also had a trait of never eating by himself. Now, this is the trait of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. Nabi Ibrahim was like that, right? Nabi Ibrahim never ate a single meal alone, ever, right? Meaning that whenever he found any food or had any food, for every single time he eats, every single time, mashallah, he would go and put effort to find someone to eat it with, right? So every single bit of food they had in their possession was shared, right? So Kinana had that, right, the way of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? And Rasulullah sallallahu is similar, in fact higher, in fact, in the fact that he would give out all of his food and have nothing left for himself, mashallah, at times. Right? So and when he right, so right, so was it that so basically he used to say, right, this Abu Kinana, he used to say, the time of the noble prophet has come close, right? The time of the coming out, or the emergence of the time of the emergence of a noble prophet has come close, and he will be in Makkah, right? So he had knowledge of the final prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And they all did. They all had knowledge of this of the final prophet, because it was passed down from Nabi Ibrahim to Nabi Ismail to all of them. So they were all aware. I saw Abdul Muttalib himself, the grandfather of Rasulullah, was very aware. They were all very aware all the way through. They were aware of the coming of the last prophet, and they were aware they are the carriers. Right? They themselves, which is mashallah, they were aware that they are the carriers, of the light and the genealogy of the last prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so he used to say, قَدْ آنَ خُرُوجُ نَبِيٍّ كَرِيمٍ مِنْ مَكَّةٍ, that the time has come close for the emergence of the noble prophet in Mecca, or from Mecca. He will be called Ahmad. His name is Ahmad. Right, so this is acknowledged from Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. It's also acknowledged in the books of Nabi Musa alayhi salam, and they were very well versed and very well knowledgeable, right, of the books of Nabi Musa and Nabi Isa. So you think about it, right? Warqa bin Nawfal, whom we know without any doubts, right, was very knowledgeable on the books of the previous prophets. Warqa bin Nawfal, the cousin of Sayyidah Khadija. Right, not just him, but there were other, you say individuals in the life of Rasulullah, like Buhaira the monk, right? There was Buhaira the Abid, right? The worshipper who was on the path, right? But Rasulullah as a young boy went by his place, and he witnessed the Prophet ﷺ, and he saw all the signs, right, in the Prophet ﷺ that he was the last prophet, right? So you see, there were several individuals at the time of Rasulullah ﷺ who had the books of previous prophets, and they knew the signs. So if these individuals had the books and they knew the signs, so what more the ancestors, right? It's not mustahil at all. Right? It is not impossible at all that the ancestors also had books and the ancestors also had signs, right? So right. So it was. So he said that his name is Ahmad, right? And he will call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he will call to righteousness. All the words of Kinana. Kinana is speaking here. So he said, قَدْ آنَ خُرُوجُ نَبِيٍّ كَرِيمٍ مِنْ مَكَّةٍ يُدْعَى أَحْمَدٍ يدعو إلى الله تعالى وإلى البر والإحسان ومكارم الأخلاق. Right? He will call to Allah, and he will call to goodness and righteousness and excellence and high character. And then he said, فَاتَّبِعُوهُ. Right? So follow him. When you find this prophet, follow him, right? And he will increase you in honor, right? To the honor that you already have. And the Quraysh already had an honor because they were the custodians of the Kaaba, right? So following him will increase you in honor to the honor that you already have. وَعِزًّا إِلَىٰ عِزِّكُمْ. Right? And again, the greatness that you already had, right? And if you do not and do not go against what he has brought, right? Do not be an enemy to what he has brought, right? For surely it is truth, right? For surely it is truth. And you see, mashallah, we are still in a very, like, you see, the later ancestors, right? Which means that all of the Quraysh, right? And you see almost all of them, in fact, they come from that Kinana was their ancestor, right? Because it's not reached Fihr. Fihr is the one who's called Quraysh, right? And the Quraysh all link up to Fihr, right? So which means that those before Fihr, definitely the Quraysh link up to him. So which means those in Mecca, in the time of Rasulullah, if they were true to their ancestors, and they kept saying, oh, this is what our ancestors doing, this is what we found our fathers doing. If they were true to their statement, they would go back to their true ancestors and what these ancestors really said. Mashallah. Right? And there's some point them out. Right? You all know what Kinana was about. You know what, and you all take pride, in all these ancestors, of these great men in your lineage, because they share the same ancestors. And in fact, when you learn like the biography of a different Sahaba, one thing that is usually mentioned if the Sahabi is a Qurayshi, like Sayyidina Abu Bakr is a Qurayshi, Sayyidina, Umar al-Qurayshi, Sayyidina Uthman al-Qurayshi, and so on. If the Sahaba, Sayyidina Khadija is a Qurayshiyah, right? So if the Sahaba is a Qurayshi, right, from the tribe of the Quraysh, if you look at the Tarjama, in their biography, it is always mentioned where they meet the Prophet in lineage, like which grandfather they shared, right? Because it's a tribe, it's a tribal society. So the thing about tribal societies is that they're from the same line, right? Then it's just that it's split up, like, in a sense, right? So that basically a tribe is one huge family, right? Which is why it is common, right, when you read the books of Sirah, right, for them to address each other as, oh, my cousin. Right? So they're not directly cousins, right? But basically they're like extended cousins. So you find Sayyidah Khadija, in when she expressed her interest to marry Rasulullah, right? She said, "Oh, my cousin," and she addressed him as cousin, right? Because they share, an ancestor. They share ancestors, mashallah. And I always try to get myself to memorize, right? And to memorize it, at least for the main people in the life of Rasulullah. We should memorize, like where they meet the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in ancestry. I think it's mentioned in this book, who are the companions that meet at this particular ancestor, and so on. I just wanted to see, like how far they are in relation to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Like, so are they third cousins, fourth cousins? Are they, like, mashallah. And so this is the thing about society in Mecca, which gives you a context, right? It's really a context because they know each other, right? They know. You see, they're all saudara, they're all relatives. They are all relatives of each other. They know each other, right? So for when they some of them went ahead and they fought the Prophet, so when they went against him, when they lied against him, when they denied him, it was something that was so foul and so unbecoming of family members to do it to each other. And that was the one thing that really bothered a lot of them during the boycott, right? And those who are not Muslims, right? It bothered them, right? And they would say to they would say to each other, and they were not Muslims, they're just believers, and they would say, like, how can we do this to our own cousins? Like, these are our own Bani Hashim and Bani al-Muttalib. They are our cousins, our own cousins. How could we cut them off of food and drink? And it was to the point that during the boycott, and you're going to get to the story of the boycott, inshallah. During the boycott, the years of the boycott were the most severe years of the da'wah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And in the years of the boycott, right, it was that the jua, right, the hunger was so real that in the depths of the night, or in the silence of the night, in Mecca, from the town of Mecca, they could hear the babies crying in the valley that Bani Hashim and Bani al-Muttalib were in during the boycott, because they had fled to a valley, because Abdul Muttalib was Abu Talib, the uncle, Abu Talib was so frightened or so afraid that the Quraysh would kill the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when if they got the opportunity to, right? So they had actually fled from Mecca into a valley, right? And Abu Talib, right, through the night, he would not sleep. He was an old man at this point in time, and he was in his 80s. Through the night, he would not sleep, right? But he would watch the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wherever the Prophet went. Right? And then in the night, he would go to the Prophet and he would say to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, get up, let's change, where you're sleeping. Go to that tent over there. Then he would go there. Then in the night, he would say, get up, let's go to that tent over there. Change the place where you're sleeping. And why he was doing it was that he was so afraid someone would come and kill him. And he was so afraid someone would come and kill the Prophet. Right? So that's why they were in the valley. And the people in Mecca could hear the cries of the babies, from Bani Hashim, Bani al-Muttalib, from the valley. So that affected them so much, for the disbelievers. There were disbelievers in Mecca who were affected. How could family do this to family? We're all cousins, right? That is why that caused for some of them to rise up against Abu Jahl, and stop this ridiculous, and they call it this really oppressive boycott that lasted 3 years. 3 years they were boycotted, right? They lasted the entire duration. right? So subhanallah, okay, subhanallah. So to understand that we're looking at a tribal society. A tribal society is basically a family, right? They are extended family, and that was what grieved Rasulullah so much when they rejected the message. In fact, Kinana had pointed them and told them, right, do not go against the Prophet ﷺ, do not go against what he came with. Right, فَإِنَّهُ الْحَقِّ, right, it is true. Right, don't you dare go against it. So had they been true to their ancestor, they should have, embraced the message of the Prophet ﷺ. They were told, the society was told that there's going to be a prophet coming up, right? The ancestors told them, and they knew very well it's going to happen, right? But it's just when it finally happened, it was against their nafs, right? And they could not get over themselves, right? And accept the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, and then he okay, so that was Kinana, right? So we're going into another, right? So after Kinana is another, right? So another bin Kinana bin Khuzaimah bin Mudrika bin Ilyas, right? So his real name was Qais, right? And the word another was his laqab. I mean, he's like a title that he had, right? Because of the light in his face, right? So all of them, their names all go back to a light in their faces, and because of the light in his face, right? So of the word nadir, right? Nadir إلى ربها وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. Right? So ناظرة is a bright face because it is gazing at the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So he had this bright face, right, in himself. Right? So it was basically said that he was Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. And it was in pre-Islamic society, right, in Mecca, it used to be right that the people, right, when their fathers died, when their fathers died, they would marry the wives, or they would inherit, in fact, they would inherit in marriage the wives of their fathers. And not their own mother, but basically their fathers who had other wives, right? So for example, a man has several wives, right? In the past, especially, they had many, many wives. So when he dies, right, his wives, right, widows, his widows, are inherited by his sons, right? And so they take the widows of their father as their wives now. Of course, in Islam it's haram, right? Because this woman will be your stepmothers, right? Because it's your father's spouses, right? Your stepmothers, and that becomes mahram. You have a mahram with them, right? So it was not permissible, right? So and that was the culture, of that time, right? So and it was the those in the lineage of Rasulullah, right? They had stayed away from this culture, right? And of course, Islam came and Islam abolished it, right? And did not allow for from the ayat in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Surah Nisa, وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا مَا نَكَحَ آبَاؤُكُمْ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفَ, right? Do not marry, right, those whom your fathers marry upon amongst women, except what has already been done, right? So because it is something that is wrong, right? So it was said that Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Now, right? So it was so basically it was mentioned about another, right, about the light that was shining in his face. There was um there was prominent, right, about him, right? And then from the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ma ziltu akhraju min nikahin ka nikahil Islam, right? Rasulullah said that, he came out only from a nikah, only from nikah that was the nikah of Islam, meaning that was valid in Islam. Right? From there, right, we know that that definitely the ancestors of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, they were protected all the way even from practices of the Jahiliyyah, right, that was against the laws of Islam. Right, mashallah. And we notice that all of them, that Allah has protected them, right, from what the people used to do. Mashallah. Right, so was here there's a entire discussion about some people saying that he married the wives of his father, right? But then there is a red, there is a people who go against it and say not possible, right? Because the ancestors of the Prophet ﷺ, they only get into correct contracts of nikah, right? What is correct in Islam. Okay, now, right? So it is so the Quraysh, right? They come up to fihr actually, right? They come up to fihr, right? And but it said here that let me just get that. Okay, so alhamdulillah, right? So basically, the Quraysh, they got to fihr, they actually got to fihr, but it was also said that some of the people, they were that the Quraysh is another, they got to another, and that is because that's what Imam Ash-Shafi'i has mentioned. The Quraysh got to another. Allahu A'lam. So this is our opinion, right, about that. Right? And this is because of the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When someone asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, who are the Quraysh? Right. So Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who are the Quraysh? Man Quraysh. And then he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he responded, Man walada another. Right. Whosoever came from another. Right. That is one of the proofs Imam Shafi'i thinks that the Quraysh come from another. Right? Another proof we say that they all come from al-fihr, or come from fihr. And Allahu A'lam. And so, mashallah. Right. Now, okay, so after another comes Malik. Right, so Malik bin another, bin Kinana, bin Khuzaimah, bin Mudrika. Right, and he's called Malik, right, because of him always giving out whatever he owns. Mashallah. Right? So whatever he owns, he will always be giving out. So it's called Al-Malik, the one who owns things, and he always gives out to other people. Right? And it also it was said that he's called Al-Malik, or he was called Malik, right, because he was the leader, or the king of the Arabs, right? He had gained a leadership position amongst the Arabs, right? And so, mashallah, there is Malik. There's not much said about him. Then we come to Fihr. Okay, so the Fihr is the one that I was mentioning. By they would say that he is the Asl Quraysh. He is the first. You see, they go back to Fihr. Right, they go back to Fihr. Right. So the narration whereby we see that when Rasul was asked who are the Quraysh, and he said, Man min walid another, and from the from the kids, from the children of Nadar, right? Then it was said it was Fihr, right? So they are all from Fihr. So inshallah, next week I will continue with Fihr. So we'll read from Fihr, the next part, and we're getting close to the end of the lineage, right? When we get to so Fihr, we're not at Fihr, so we're getting close to the end of the lineage. So we have Fihr, and we have Ghalib, Lu'ay, and we have Murrah, so we got Ka'b and Murrah. Ka'b has a long story for Ka'b. Then you have Murrah, Then you have Kilab, who's also called Hakim, who's also called Amr. Right? They have several names. I have Amr, Hakim, his name is Kilab. Mashallah, one of the We Love Islam books, I put the lineage there of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I chose the name Kilab, right? Because it's one of the more well-known names for this particular ancestor. And someone messaged me, and alhamdulillah, with good intention, like saying that I made a mistake, like in the lineage of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whereby I put the word Kilab. And I said, and then she was saying that it's supposed to be Hakim. Like, it's supposed to be Hakim. Kilab has several names. Right? So it's Kilab, Hakim, Amr. Right? So I said, mashallah, good feedback. So if you think that there's a mistake there, you give feedback lah. Right? But then I always tell you that there are actually a few names. And there is in the lineage of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Kilab is one of the names, right? In the lineage. So mashallah. And then she was like, oh, she never knew that there were several names, in the lineage. Then Rabia, and then Hussein, right? Then we have Abdul Manaf. From Abdul Manaf onwards, right, the stories get longer and longer because they get closer and closer to the time of Rasulullah. So more documented on them, right, as you move towards Rasulullah. Then you have Hashim. Hashim is a strong biography, right, a long biography about him and who he was, right? In the Sayyidah Fatima Zahra book that I was doing in just previously, in the month of Jumul Akhirah, there was the story of Salma, Sayyidah Salma, who is the wife of Sayyidina Hashim, who is the mother of Abdul Muttalib. Right? So inshallah, she has a story behind her, right? So I want to speak about her when I get there. Right? It's a very strong story about her, Sayyidah Salma, right? And mashallah. Okay, so inshallah we will continue with this class next week. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. أن الله يرزقنا من نافع وعمل خاتم الله عليم ودلالة الهدى ويسر به قبل محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإلى أرواح معلمنا وشيخنا والزاوية حق علينا وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم خيرا. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأهله. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم خيرا. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأهله. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم خيرا. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأهله. الفاتحة. أنا وجدنا من أهله وعمل خاتم وختعين وذل الهدى ويسر به قول صلى الله عليه وسلم وإلى أرواح معلمنا وشيخنا والزابي الحق علينا وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. الفاتحة. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.